Welcome to Pathfinders, Building the Future of Insurance with Speed and Innovation. Today, I think throughout this conference, we've seen where in today's world, speed and innovation are really crucial to the future of insurance and to really creating a path that is going to be full of growth and opportunity for each of the companies in this room and throughout the conference. These innovative companies that I've got here on stage with me are really helping to transform insurance in really interesting ways, are creating some innovative new products, are creating some innovative new business models, are leveraging a lot of new technologies and different data sources to really kind of transform insurance in a way that is going to be really relevant for customers in this whole new digital age. So what we wanted to do today is to have a conversation around some of what they're doing, some of what the trends are, what we've seen in the marketplace over the last 4 to 5 years, and then also what we see going into the future. So first of all, I'd like to introduce my panel. To my right is Emilio. He is the Executive Vice President at SafeSite. They are an MGA startup focused on workers' compensation. To my left is Dan, and he is the CEO and founder of Avenue, a new insurance startup, full-stack insurer, focused on insurance for semi-autonomous and autonomous vehicles. And to my very far left is Raja. He is with Hartford Steam Boiler, and they're doing a lot, as many of you know, as a part of Munich Re, they're doing a lot of innovation around different types of products and bringing them to market in a really minimum viable product perspective. So to get us started, I am going to show one slide here based on our research, and this is really a basis of what we're going to be talking about with regard to the topics that I talked about. We really see leaders emerging in the insurance industry, and that's incumbent insurance leaders, but also insurtech leaders. And it's really the collaboration and the working together that is really bringing, I think, the industry onto this new path that really is going to be much more relevant for a different generation of customers, but more importantly, a different era where digital technology is pervasive throughout our lives. And with that, I'm going to let each panelist first introduce themselves. So Emilio, and about your company.
Good morning. Good morning. Emilio Figueroa, SafeSite. I run their insurance division. SafeSite is a risk management platform, and we have built a national MGA for workers' comp. We're looking at doing middle market workers' comp clients.
Dan, Pete. Two fun things about me. One, I was a philosophy major, which makes me qualified to talk about all of this today. And two, I have 7 children under the age of 15. So, yes, all one wife, if you were thinking that, yes. And I can tell you they don't do anything that is not involving technology, so get ready for that. And our company, Avenue, auto insurance for self-driving cars.
So, Raja Manikvaskam from Hartford Steam Boiler. Recently, I've taken up a position within our transactional insurance vertical as the leader of the digital technology practice. Prior to that, a lot of technical projects, back office automation, even some developing new products through partners, which I'll talk a bit more about later. HSB is a 150-year-old company with a strong engineering background. In fact, we started off in the equipment breakdown insurance or inspection. We also started offering insurance services on top of that, and we've been evolving since then. And there's a lot of new development and products that we are offering either through insurance, also through our connected technologies, through IoT. So I'll talk a lot more about that further down. Thanks.
All right, so in the last 5 years, we've seen the emergence of insurtech coming out of fintech, and it really has accelerated the digital revolution, I think. So as you each kind of look at this, I think initially everybody was a little stunned about insurtech, and it kind of came on pretty fast. And everybody kind of took a pause and wondered, will this kind of be a thing that fades away, or is this something that's really real? Let's talk about how insurtech has really given you guys different kinds of experiences to really kind of pull together the ideas that each of you and your companies are really offering out to customers today. So, Raja, do you want to start?
Sure. So coming from a very traditional, insurance background, it's our approach towards insurtech has really been one of cautious embracement. In fact, even today, 90% of our written premium is processed through very legacy 20-plus-year-old applications, and I'm sure that's probably the case for a lot of the other, long-standing insurance companies out there. Recently, I'd say about 1 to 2 years ago, we started some of our digital partnerships with some of our vendors on certain specialty insurance products like cyber and identity recovery. And one of those partnerships was actually with Majesco. We were able to stand up our total cyber product on Majesco in 3 months and about a fraction of the cost of what it would have normally taken us on a larger platform. And that even though it was written pretty much as an MVP approach, the intent was really to show to the company that what we can achieve in a short duration.
Well, so I once read a book, and the title was, "It's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eat the slow." Now, that book was actually terrible, but the title was amazing. And what I found, and I think what we're going through right now with large insurance companies, which is where I started my career, and now the insurtech revolution, that I'm going to call it a revolution, it's not dissimilar to what used to happen in the old days with pirates. Now, a lot of people think that pirates were these bloodthirsty murderers and robbers, but the reality is, a lot of times there would be this tiny little pirate ship following a giant ship that was owned by the King of England, coming back from the New World with spices and gold and whatever it was. And that little pirate ship would have a crew of maybe 10 people. Sounds like a startup, right? And all of those people were equally compensated. The captain got twice as much. Sounds like a startup, right? They would track that big ship full of hired hands who were just working for a paycheck. And that big ship would have, guns and weapons and soldiers and all sorts of people. But they would track them for sometimes a month and then board the ship and have a bloodless takeover. And the captain would offer the new crew the ability to join his pirate crew. So I really think that that's what you're going to see with insurtechs and insurance companies. And a lot of the insurance companies probably don't think that's possible because, we're owned by the King of England and we've got a big ship full of gold. But the reality is I do think that if you're going to have two choices, you're going to either be fast or slow.
We'll have a little bit more on the pirate thing coming up later towards the end of our session, but it'll probably be weaved throughout. We have some gold up here, too, for those that are going to ask questions. So feel free to ask a question. You've got a gold chocolate thingy up here that we're going to hand out. Emilio, your perspective.
Coming from the legacy side of insurance, understanding how slow things move, how innovation lags, and then going to an insurtech and working with an insurtech to recreate part of the marketplace, not from the ground up, not from the inside out, but from the outside in, looking at the customer engagement, customer perspective, and redefining what it is to be a true insurtech or an innovative company. What we're doing to simplify that, and like Dan said, we're pirates throughout, and we're looking at changing the dynamics of how we're working with it. And we're looking at the customer. How can we change the customer? How can we re-engage the customer to be proactive in their risk management? How can we change the company culture so they can be proactive and help themselves in the long term? So that's what we're doing. We're looking from the outside in, trying to simplify that. And obviously, we're all pirates.
So the whole focus, obviously, is around growth. That from an industry that really hasn't seen tremendous levels of growth for probably decades. I think we've been happy with maybe 3 to 5% growth at best at times. We're really have an opportunity with all of the demographics changing in the marketplace and with the technologies and the way that customers are engaging, whether they're individuals or business owners, that it really offers an opportunity to do something different and not just trying to create the same kind of product, just offer it cheaper. It's really to do something really innovative, customer engagement, as you said, but really innovative products. Dan, why don't we start with you and talk about how you guys kind of came up with this whole concept?
Well, you know what? I'm going to just start by reading a text from my 15-year-old daughter that she sent me this morning, and I think it's probably indicative of all of this. It goes like this. The iPhone 11 is out. You can buy it now and give me your X. And I just respond with a wink. And then she says, are you going to buy it, ? Please. Yes, but not today. Can you get it soon? Yes. And you can trade in my phone because I don't need it anymore. Please. So she's about to become a driver. And I want you to ask yourself a question. If your interaction with your customer is not here, you're going to be dead. And why are we not here yet? I think that's just table stakes. If you think about Root and Metromile and some of the Hippo, I'm an investor in Hippo, that for them is just table stakes. To be interacting with their customer the way their customer and their future customer wants to interact with them. So, what I really was focused on initially was, oh my goodness, cars are starting to drive themselves. When we started the company 3 years ago, everyone said, oh, come on, that's pie in the sky. That's, George Jetson stuff. And I looked at him and I said, are you kidding me? Like, Tesla's on their road today. And I think I can say this, but we're under NDA with every OEM at this point, auto manufacturer. And every single one of them has an autonomous or semi-autonomous vehicle coming out. And when a car is driving itself, you have another driver in the car, and auto insurance needs to change. I mean, think about it. When you're getting a quote for auto insurance, and you're asked what your age is, what your zip code is, what your gender is, if you have a garage, maybe there's a credit check, but it's all about you. Yet the car is doing the driving. So I think that's just one example of how insurance isn't thinking about where this is going to go, but they need to quickly. Also, that car is connected. Your home is connected. My goodness, I'm connected, right? And our children are going to be completely connected. And to them, it's not weird. It's just what they've been doing their whole lives. So if we're not interacting with our customers the way our customers are interacting with all their other products and services that they're buying, then we're going to be dead.
Raja.
So let me just hang up on my rotary phone and send you a telegram.
Yeah.
For those who catch that reference.
Just hit me up on my pager.
Yeah. Pager is what is a pager? It's new technologies. Okay. So obviously coming from a 150-year-old company where our primary insurance product was equipment breakdown insurance coverage, right? So it's a very mature product. There's not a lot of opportunities for growth there, but there, where we are focusing on is our specialty insurance, like cyber, identity recovery for benefits, where we are looking to partner, like I had said earlier. We did a great partnership with Majesco. We've done partnership with other vendors, and that's really where we see a future of our company is. And also, I don't want to get into IoT again, but IoT and its a whole suite of connected technologies is where we see, we are actually essentially replacing our equipment breakdown and our core business with our new ventures in IoT. So that's really where our primary growth focus is. And just on that growth note, the department that I've entered into and also my new role requires us to establish more digital partnerships with vendors. So we are actively looking to work more with insurtechs that allow us to better our distribution channels as well as to help us with growth in new verticals.
Do you think the carrier pigeon can fly all the way over to Los Angeles where we are, and we can? I'm teasing you.
I know. I was trying to think of a joke.
Let's do it.
Emilio, give your perspective. We have partnerships forming up here.
I know.
So I think it's integral for every company to look at not only the customer engagement, but engaging the customer into a richer sense of being a proactive partner in what you're doing. And every company is looking at engaging and maintaining and retention and doing that. But if you don't change the dynamic of where the conversation is leading in regards to how you're engaging the customer and making them a proactive partner within the relationship, the engagement is useless. There's no point. You need to make them aware. You need to make them engaged to the point that they're actually using it for a proactive reason and to help and to mitigate the risk. And that's what we're all doing. Our goal is to mitigate risk. But if we can't do that with the insured directly, then it's pointless. And if he's not engaged and they're not willing to do it because we haven't proactively done anything about engaging them and making sure that they're proactive within it, then it's not working.
So we're talking about a little bit about some of the different technologies, that are really kind of coming to the forefront here. Cloud obviously is one of them. 3 years ago, I don't think many insurers, other than the insurtechs, really saw cloud as well, that's a little bit too far out there. It's a little bit risky. And today, with a lot of the data security and the data breaches, it becomes it's better secure than in their own operations oftentimes. But here at the conference, there's been some real focus on API, on IoT, and on big data and machine learning, artificial intelligence. I'd like each of you to kind of talk about what you're doing, with some of these different technologies and how important these platform technologies really are to the future of insurance. Amelia, do you want to start?
Absolutely. So for us, we're using data on a very granular basis. As an example, for underwriting, for workers' comp on a national basis here in the U.S., you have about 40 basic questions you ask on a supplemental application. We're going beyond that, and we're pulling data from public and private data points and spaces, and we're getting about 260 data points on every individual client without even looking at what the broker's submitting. We're pulling all the information, we're underwriting in a richer sense, and then we're grabbing those data points and looking at the historical data that they've submitted previously and comparing those to make sure there's no red flags. So for us, looking at machine learning, looking at external, private, and public data points, using the machine learning to look at all the data as quickly as possible to simplify the underwriting procedure for us is key.
You were also doing some stuff with pictures.
We are. So we have a couple different things we're working with. Right now we're looking at live video and we're looking at machine learning and looking to see if someone's wearing, for example, a hard hat. So you can have the phone, and as you're tagging your risk compliance, you can see and even if the user doesn't see there's something missing, the machine learning will tell you exactly what's going on, and it'll mitigate that risk to simplify it and show you that a worker wasn't wearing a hard hat or there's a manhole cover open.
Dan, what about you?
So I joke all the time with people that thank God cell phone cameras didn't exist when I was in college, because I probably wouldn't have this job that I have to. No, but that's what's happening with insurance, right? We're able to track everything now. And so, if you have a connected car with autonomous features, we actually have built technology that allows us to pull data from the car using APIs to determine when that car's autonomous features are engaged. We then use a whole methodology that we developed to then discount the insurance based on the usage of those autonomous features, when they're engaged, how they're engaged, and then apply discounts to your insurance. It's really a whole new world, and this is, in my opinion, the way every insurance needs to go. I mean, it will only be in my mind a matter of time where we'll figure out how to make health and life insurance connected to you, and the premiums will change based on your behavior and how you're interacting with your devices. So beware, but be excited, because you can manage what you can measure. And this is a moment where if you're able to manage these things in real time and see and call them and say over a loudspeaker, put your hard hat on, right? Like all of a sudden, imagine how much safer the world can be.
Raja.
Yep. So HSB is, just like with probably most insurance companies, large-scale carriers anyway, is in the middle of a large-scale transformation program. As part of that, we're trying to change several tracks. Our customer experience track, a lot of emphasis on integrating directly with portal strategies. Our enterprise information management track, which is all about big data and analytics and how we can use the information that we actually capture already to better price the insurance and the risks. Our insurance platforms, that there's always constant discussions around about how we are best bringing forward the right platforms to suit not just where we are today, but also where we are for the HSB 2020 and even HSB 2030. So there's all of these transformations are taking place. We're obviously utilizing all the technologies, cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence. I'd also add automation to the mix because there's still a lot of back office operations that are still being done in a very manual, intrinsic manner, and we have recently taken a lot of approaches towards streamlining or automating a lot of the claims and premium registration processes. So, just add that to the mix as well.
I just lost the question. Can you put that question back up for me, please? We have a question from the audience. What are some of the specific tools you're using, and if you can share? Is it homegrown? Is it from a vendor? Rapid application platforms? What has your experience been with either? Emilio, you want to start?
A lot of the tools we're using are internally created tools. We are working with a couple different insurtechs, some of the data providers that are out there. Can I share? I probably shouldn't share, but I come talk to me in person, and I'll be more than happy to share.
Dan.
Is this a setup for me to say we're working with Majesco? Yes.
I don't know. It's the question that came up
I'm
there.
teasing. But yeah, we have a combination of our own technology that we've built mixed in with a whole lot of different technology providers that plug into the various parts of our platform, including Majesco is one of them. You don't need to build a payments platform when you can use someone that's already built that for you. There's all sorts of research companies out there that have APIs that you can just, use. So it's a mix, I think. We always debate this, whether you should build it or buy it. And if someone can provide it better, faster, cheaper, why would we build it, right? But if it's core to our differentiators and what makes us and our business unique, then you better believe we're going to build that ourselves.
Raja.
So I agree wholeheartedly with Dan. I mean, why reinvent the wheel, really? And if it's not really adding value to our organization, and if it's just a support service that you can purchase, then why not purchase? In terms of tools, there's a lot of tools. Obviously, we use Majesco. We use Guidewire for our policy administration as well. We use Blue Prism and Appian for robotics and process automation, respectively. And there's a slew of other partner vendors that I'm not sure if I have the liberty to disclose. But yeah, so a lot of tools. And in terms of what my experience has been, it's been hot and cold, I would say. There's certain technologies where we are embracing it without necessarily understanding what it can do and what it can do for us specifically. And there are certain technologies that we understand well. It fits well within our culture, which is a very important thing. There's a lot of acceptance towards wanting to make it successful, which is also something that plays a key part in making sure the tools are successful. In the end, a tool is just technology. If we can't, technology by itself will not be bringing in new revenue streams or or expose us to our products to new distribution channels. It's a whole culture, mindset, leadership. A lot of things have to change as well, and we are working towards that.
One of the things that each of you kind of touched on without really saying it is, to a great extent, what's happening in this revolution, as you call it, Dan, in the industry is really us going back to some of the fundamentals about the customer and really helping them from a risk management standpoint, avoiding risk, managing that risk in a really cost-effective way on a personalized basis rather than a one-size-kind-of-fits-all. And really helping people to stay safe in your case, and in your case, and to stay, their businesses to stay safe, even from a cyber standpoint. Let's talk about a little bit about the risk management aspect of all of this, and that maybe instead of thinking about we just have to create an insurance policy to cover risk and then pay out the risk at the back end, how can we create a policy that really is about them and that helps them manage their risk and is much safer for them?
Well, I've been making fun of 150-year-old companies, but now I'm going to applaud Hartford Steam Boiler for a second. So when you started, right, what were you doing? You were a bunch of engineers who knew how to build technology better than the people who were building it themselves, right? And so you would warranty that technology because you knew if it was well built or not.
Yeah, back in my day when I started the company, yeah.
When you started that company.
Absolutely.
See, we're all founders here.
You are sure young.
You are so well preserved. So, what is your secret? If you think about the first insurance companies, it's probably not dissimilar to the first any companies in any industry. These were the innovators, right? They were the companies that said, we know how technology works better than anyone else, and we're willing to warranty it or cover it or insure it. And I think that this is a moment now where with real-time data that you can collect from things and people and cars and houses and everything else, you can actually give instant feedback. I was joking about the yelling at someone and saying, wear your hard hat, but we've actually built that into our platform where your phone will actually speak to you to give you some feedback occasionally about safer routes or
Awesome.
warnings, things like that. I mean, we can build a world now with all this data that gives instant feedback to people so that they can be safer, so that they can protect their things more quickly. I mean, when you think of water detection, that you can catch it when you just hear a drip, right? I mean, this is a really cool opportunity.
Guys, any comments?
I mean, in terms of just general customer expectations, I mean, just to narrow down the definition of a customer. I mean, yesterday I was working with my manager, and we were talking about how many different types of definitions of our customers that we do have, and it's probably very similar a lot of the other large-scale carriers too. But so that it becomes a challenge because there are certain different customers have different expectations and different attributes that you need to capture, and different products that we need to offer at different time frames. So it becomes a challenge is how do we best engage with our customer, and that is really the genesis behind all of our innovation and opportunities that we're looking to pursue. Because if what works for our agency and brokers will definitely not work with our end insured. So we have to constantly balance where do we want to invest our hard-earned dollars and our very little technical budgets around.
Any comments, Amelia?
For us, on the risk management side, we're looking at not only changing the company culture and simplifying that engagement with the customer where they become a proactive partner within the relationship, but we're looking at bringing in the brokers to not only be our sales force, but to be our evangelists. We want them to push the product. We want them to be part of the risk mitigation. We want to change them from being a salesperson to being a risk mitigator. And for us, changing not only the client, but changing the industry internally is a key factor. And how do we do that? We do that by engagement. Well, with the broker, we pay them a little extra commission if they become engaged. With the client themselves, change the culture, make them proactive, make them a partner. And one of the questions was, how do we not annoy our clients? Well, for us, it's about working not only with the owner of the company and changing and bringing risk management to them, but by providing the frontline employee the tools necessary so they can be a safer employee, so they can work better, so they can simplify their job, and to change that internally from the frontline employee all the way to the very top. And it's just changing that culture from the ground up.
So the question he's referring to is client engagement in the digital space. How do you avoid being annoying, to the customer? Any thoughts from either one of you?
Well, I once had dinner with Jerry Yang of Zappos, and I was asking him a question similar to this, and he just looked at me and he said, why don't you ask them? So, what we've been employing at Avenue is constantly focus grouping and asking our customers and potential customers what they want, what they like, how they'd like to interact with us. I mean, that's the beauty of the digital age. You can A/B test and find out very quickly what people respond to. I think it's important to have a relationship with your customers where you're asking them what they want and then giving it to them rather than just shoving something down their throat. Although I think Michael Eisner used to say, you got to show them what they want before they know they want it. So sometimes you have to do that too.
Yeah. Raja, any comments?
Yeah, it's definitely demographics play a big part in this. Obviously, with the millennials and the Gen Zs, they want to be more mobile and you want to connect with them in a totally different avenue than you're used to with regular channels. Not to say that insurance is always going to be a people business. There will always be that need eventually to have that direct human to human interaction. But if we can get, I think one of it was Allstate or someone who was saying yesterday that if you can get to 50 to 80% of the transactions taking place in the digital space, and only the remaining, to 20 to 50%, depending on a lot of other factors and complexity of their questions and their asks. Those are the only ones that get escalated to the human. That would be a great goal for us to get to.
Yeah, I do agree that sometimes it's nice to talk to a human, but if we can build technology that works really well, you'll never need to. I mean, who orders on Amazon? Only like 4 people? Oh, your insurance people. I forgot. No. So am I, don't worry. And who calls Amazon regularly because they have problems with their orders? No one. So if your insurance is like Amazon, you don't need to call and talk to someone. It could just be great, and it would work, and it would show up on your doorstep when you need it.
So final question here that I'm going to kind of pose out to all 3 of them, and I'm going to let a couple of our panelists discuss an idea. I mean, this is part of insurtech, is that you bring people together. At dinner the other night, we had everybody at dinner. And these 2 in particular got going on a new insurance idea. So, Raj, I'm going to start with you. And where do you see the future of insurance in the next couple of years? As you kind of reflect on everything that's happened to this date.
So the next couple of years, obviously we'll be specifically around HSB, or you want to talk about the insurance as a whole? Well, obviously I'm more grounded in HSB. I've got a lot of background with that, but HSB as a whole, it's on a journey. It's a major transformation, as I had noted. If we can get to, and I agree totally with Dan's point with the previous question, which is yes, no one calls Amazon. Even their return process has become very simple. But it's a case of walking before you can run, and we are certainly in a state of where we are probably crawling. I wouldn't even say we're walking, but we want to get to the point where we can walk briskly. That's really where we want to be in 2 to 5 years time, and maybe by 2030 that we will be in the position where we can almost completely eradicate the need for that human to human interaction.
Yes, I'm giving you an opportunity.
I'm a little nervous because this is being filmed, right? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you my secret business idea. So you ready? Space pirates. No, think about it. Marine cargo, what's one of the big issues? Pirates, you've heard about this? Like 3 people in a rowboat with a pistol taking over an entire ship full of $1 billion of cargo. Well, I actually want to do a space cargo company, but I am concerned about space pirates. So I've been thinking a lot about that. I'm not going to tell you any of my algorithms, so you don't put your pens and pencils down. But no, in all seriousness, I was a philosophy major, and so I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but how does a pirate know that they exist? They think, therefore they are. All right, that's all I got.
Emilio.
The future of insurance. The future of insurance is obviously Majesco, but outside of that, I think simplifying the. I keep on thinking about pirates. Excuse me. simplification of the processes are key. I think a majority of all of us need to change the dynamics and how we're dealing with our customer. We need to change our industry internally. And going back to what is the future of insurance, I think it's simplicity for everyone. If we can use data to go there, I think is key. And I think data will be key. It's a new gold rush.
Literally. Join me in thanking this panel for their insights, please. And I'd like everybody, in support of Dan's idea, let's give a big R. Thank you. Candy up here, gold coins.